Hi everyone. So I just watched the 2018 movie Upgrade, which is basically a science fiction made by the guy who made the first Saw movie. And basically, it's an upgraded version of how do you even pronounce that in English? I would pronounce it Frankenstein. Frankenstein. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, it's an upgraded version of Frankenstein. But boy, is it updated and upgraded. It's really, that's where the appeal uh, lies in this movie, at least for me. It's how much it has been updated, and because I feel, the main strength of this movie, and that really blew me away, is basically how accurately it portrays what the future could be, and not a distant future, not some distant dystopia 100 years from now, but realistically this displays what the future could be. Well, not a distant future, just maybe in 5 years or so if we're not careful. Um, yeah, that actually sounds a little like the description to any Black Mirror episode. So in a sense, yes. Some reviewer said it was basically a future feature length Black Mirror episode, and it basically is. But it's a really good one. So like all my reviews, this isn't really going to be a review. Um, the movie is awesome. Go watch it. It's really, really good. You should really, really watch it. Um, and so I won't talk about the story that much either, because I really want you to watch this movie. And so again, it's gonna be me analyzing the movie a bit, and me assuming that you have already watched the movie. So you should really watch it now. It's awesome. But unlike my other reviews or my other movie analysis, there isn't really that much to analyze in this movie, plot wise. I mean, yes, it has a bit of a twist ending. It's actually not that much of a twist. I mean, yeah, well, I'm not going to talk about it, but it has a bit of a twist ending. But the plot is still pretty straightforward. It's not like the other movies that I usually review, where you have to do a lot of explaining to understand what's going on. It's not like that. It's pretty straightforward. You watch it and you know what's going on. The plot is straightforward. It has some twists, but it's still, once you've watched it, you get it. So there there isn't much for me to explain. Um, about the plot. I mean, it's straightforward. But what I do want to talk about is, basically, um, that I really feel, and that was what really blew me away with this movie, is that I really felt that even though they had such a low budget, it's basically, by today's standards, is basically a low budget movie. Uh, but still, I felt that they really managed to really portray um, the technical aspects of a not too distant future, maybe just 5 years from now or something, really accurately. You really have the feeling, yes, that's basically what the future is gonna look like in 5 years or something. And because I really feel it's portrayed relatively realistically, and it makes it even scarier, basically, because we all know that this isn't too far fetched. This is basically Frankenstein, the old theme of um, the creation killing his creator, which is of course humans. So yeah, but that story is, is 300 years old. Mary Shelley wrote it more than 300 years ago. But now we're living at a time where thanks to this movie, we realize that this isn't science fiction anymore. That this is something that could actually happen, not in a distant future, but that could almost happen now. And that's what I think is really scary about the movie, is because there are only a very few elements that the movie portrays that are really science fiction. Most of the elements most of the science fiction elements, even most of the scary science fiction elements that the movie portrays, is not something that we haven't invented yet, but it's basically something that we already have invented and that could already happen theoretically. It's just not been implemented widely. But once we've implemented the things portrayed in this movie widely, because most of them have already been invented, then the things portrayed in this movie could actually happen. And that's what's really scary. I mean, it really scared me. So go watch the movie and you'll understand what I'm talking about. And the most scary aspect, isn't even that. I mean that is scary, yeah. That machines, start taking over our lives. That computers start basically controlling humans. I talked about that in one of my previous videos. It used to be that a computer just had a plain command screen. No matter what operating system it was, you only just had a plain command screen, and you just typed in whatever kind of command you wanted the computer to execute, and the computer would just, follow your commands. But it's not like that anymore. And in the future, it's gonna be like that even less. In the future, and you can see that portrayed in this movie very well. That of course, I hope that it's not gonna be like that. But if things continue in the way that they have been developing, then in the future it's gonna be more and more the case that the computer is going to start commanding us. And that's some of those aspects are portrayed pretty well in this movie. And then, of course, you also have the aspect of the creation turning against its creator, which is that old Frankenstein theme, or how we would call it, or nowadays we call it, and then Skynet became self-aware. So yeah, we also have that Skynet became self-aware aspect. And that's of course scary, but none of those things were the most scary. What I felt was the most scary was that we basically want that. Because we don't like to deal with reality. We don't like to deal with menial things. We want to have everything easier. We want, and it starts off with such simple things, and that's also portrayed in this movie, with such simple things as the protagonist in this movie. He likes to cook his food by himself, but he's pretty much the only one, and everyone else, just gets ready-made food. And he's the only one, who even does anything with his hands. He's repairing cars. No one else does that anymore. Everything is automated. Everything is, and we like to have it that way. We don't want to do things ourselves, and especially when it comes to seemingly menial things like repairing cars or preparing our food and stuff. It's much more convenient if everything is ready made. And above all, we don't want to deal with the seemingly unpleasant aspects of life. Like losing your wife. Having to deal with death, having to deal with loss. We don't like that, and in those areas as well, computers make it so much easier for us because we can escape into a virtual reality where we don't have to deal with all the unpleasant aspects of life. And you see that in the movie, when he goes to the hacker, and everyone in that room, is wearing those virtual reality headsets, and the hacker explains, why they're doing that, and why they're doing it for such a long time. She says that that one session can last days, and they do that because they want to escape reality, because reality is unpleasant. So the computer provides them with with an escape, with a more pleasant reality that of course isn't real, but we want it to be real. We want it to be convenient, and we don't want to deal with the ugly things. So we accept the computer replacing our reality. we want to escape reality. We want to live in that virtual world. And and that's the really sad thing. That's the really sad ending, because that's eventually what the protagonist chooses. He chooses to live in a fabricated world that isn't reality, but that's nice. And so he lets the computer take over instead. And that aspect is really scary, because I already see that nowadays, where a lot of young people don't want to deal with reality anymore, and have that, it starts with those augmented reality games and augmented reality crap nowadays. So you can see how people are already starting to do that, starting to try and escape reality, and escaping into a reality provided by machines. And that's not a good thing. And if it were to continue like that, things might really end up the way they were portrayed in this movie. And that's what makes it so scary, because everyone actually knows that, but we all kind of ignore it.